Hey, it's WillE here. Less than a month to go now, and the closer it's getting, the more anticipation is building up. Today, I want to have a look over some of the top questing zones and what makes them so great. Much of your time in Classic will be spent on the grind to 60, so it's a good idea to have some zones in mind that you would like to visit. Questing in Classic is very different from the live game. Often there's not enough content in a zone to level you up enough to start the next zone over. Because of this, you can often find yourself against enemies 3, 4, or even 5 levels higher than you, and it'll leave you wondering, well, where am I supposed to go now then? Often the answer to this isn't straightforward and requires you to journey back and forth between several zones. Ideally, you want to be in a situation where enemies and quests you are taking on are only within 1 to 2 levels of you and no more. I'm going to outline certain zones and their benefits and the level bracket they encompass. The main thing that makes a zone great is many quests and little travel time between each quest. These zones aren't really in order of what level bracket they're for, but how much use you can get out of them instead. And the list will be for both Horde and Alliance where relevant. And finally, keep in mind that many zones have to be revisited as the content there spans such a wide range of levels. Starting off in the Eastern Kingdoms with ARATHI HIGHLANDS, such a well-known zone that Blizzard even decided to revamp it as an endgame zone for Battle for Azeroth. The quest levels here are a bit weird considering it's bordered by wetlands and HILLSBRAD foothills that both have lower level quests in. There are 2 big attractions here. First of all, the ability to enter the ARATHI base in Battleground for your respective faction hub in the zone, as well as Stromgarde Keep, which offered a number of group quests to take down various elite enemies in the fortress itself. Also, working as a party can offset being underleveled, as some of these elite quests in Stromgarde are near a level 40 by the end. I always had good memories of this zone as it promoted group play so much. HILLSBRAD Foothills now, the zone just to the west of ARATHI Highlands and connected to Silverpine Forest. This zone is a bit out of the way to get to, but it's definitely worth the time as there are so many quests to pick up here. The level range isn't too wide either, so this should be a zone you can tick off in one go, which is always nice, unless you're Horde, where the quests go from late 20s all the way to late 30s. And let's not forget the biggest thing about HILLSBRAD Foothills, South Shore for Alliance versus Tarren Mill for Horde. It's not a surprise since this zone is so great for questing that it attracted so many players from each faction. On a PvP server, this place is gonna be a war zone. For PvE players, it's a solid zone, one to check out for sure. ASHENVALE, not a zone that may come to mind, but this place has a good number of quests for both Horde and Alliance. You may associate this place with just elves, but don't forget it borders the Barrens, one of Horde's most infamous zones, so there are plenty of Horde camps where quests can be found there. For me, this zone offers a nice change of scenery for anyone that hasn't been playing a Night Elf, as well as the elven music score, which is brilliant. Finally, Blackfam's Deep lies way to the west, giving a nice dungeon to check in if you're in the area. Don't forget to check up on any possible dungeon quests beforehand, or share them with your party if you have any. FELWOOD now, just north of ASHENVALE. This zone is quite linear, with you starting at the far south end and moving all the way up to the north. All the way through there are a good number of quests to complete. This is a higher level zone for sure, but not one to miss. You'll be able to unlock the Cenarian Beacon as well, which will open up the ability to get a number of useful world buffs and items like the Songflower Serenade or the Whippooroo Juba, which can both be great in raids. It's a bit more of an ominous zone than most in the game, but it is also the only way you're going to get into Winterspring. Speaking about Winterspring, that's the next zone. You'll need a few visits here to clear everything up. You unlock Echo, which are nice buffs from Witch Doctor Maori that can be used as endgame for battle elixirs. It has a whole bunch of quests for Alliance and Horde. It's worth coming to this zone just to get the flight point in Everlook once you finish Felwood, even if you don't intend to quest here straight away. Also, it has the Winterspring Frostsaber questline for mount enthusiasts. Non-faction mounts are a lot rarer in Classic, so this will definitely be a standout site. DUSKWOOD and REDRIDGE mountains. I was going to give these each their own slot. I don't want to fill this with Alliance only zones. Each of these zones have the same kind of benefits, good quest hubs, lots to do. They have dungeon quests for the stockade in each zone. DUSKWOOD has a really great ambience and allows paladins to flex their exorcism and holy wrath spells against the undead found there. The zone culminates in a number of different elite quests too. Overall, big fan for DUSKWOOD. For REDRIDGE Mountains, there's a whole bunch going on there too. The key focus of the zone is taking on a fortress filled with elite orcs. This may be your first taste of content where a group is really needed, which makes it so memorable. Next, Searing Gorge and the Burning Steppes. Particularly Searing Gorge has a bunch of quests. Hitting up Thorium Point is something you don't want to miss as Alliance or Horde. This neutral camp is absolutely great. It has a bunch of quests for the zone that are all relatively close together. The Burning Steppes is really an expansion of this and contains many quests for Blackrock Depths as well. Each zone is overlooked by the ominous Blackrock Mountain, a key hub for much endgame content, containing Blackrock Depths, Lower and Upper Blackrock Spire, Molten Core, and Blackwing Lure. Lots of time will be spent in this mountain, so questing around it will guarantee you at least get the flight point for future reference. Next up, Tanaris, a later tier zone, one not to miss though. This zone itself has some nice quests, however the main attraction is the dungeon, Zul'Farrak, which has a whole bunch of quests which are easy to pick up before you head to the dungeon from Gadgetzan. Always make a stop by Zul'Farrak during your leveling. There is a second later game part to Tanaris as well in the south near Ungoro, which caters to higher levels, so you may have to do a second pass through here before you get to your next zone, which may just be Ungoro Crater. I hope you like dinosaurs. This is another zone not to miss, and it has a massive number of quests for both factions. You'll likely be spending quite a bit of time here. This zone doesn't have a massive range of levels and should be a one visit hub, which is the best kind of zone. It has elite quests and Zelda references hidden there. Also, we get to see Dodanga again. What's not to like? WESTFALL. Alliance only and a follow-up to many early level zones. This one really stands out for me, as I'm sure it does every Alliance player, as an amazing zone. It may not be the most visually striking, but it makes up for it big time in other ways. Plenty of quests, an interesting story, and ends with a bunch of dungeon quests in the Dead Mines, which is likely to be also the first dungeon you go into. I don't think I could ever miss leveling in this zone. And now the Barrens is just as important as WESTFALL for the Alliance, the Horde, and the Barrens. It's surprising how you can be so nostalgic for somewhere so flat and brown, but hey, that's how it is. This zone is a key early game area for the Horde, and even has a dungeon in the Wailing Caverns. Massive amounts of content are in this zone, including many early game class quests for the Horde characters as well. It holds the million-dollar question, just where is Mancrick's wife? Every Horde race should come here, even the undead once they're at the appropriate level, and just in case you forgot, the Crossroads is under attack. The Western and Eastern Plaguelands, a vast majority of your endgame will be spent in these two zones. Loads of quests, a great story, elites, group content, bunch of dungeons, Scholomance, Stratholme, the Living and the Dead side, and of course, Naxxramas, the final tier of Classic. I wonder if we'll see this as the final tier again, or whether Hydra will be introduced afterwards. We'll have to see. And the final zone, Stranglethorn Vale. Was there any doubt this would be on the list? This zone is absolutely colossal, with 113 unique quests listed on WoW databases between Horde and Alliance. This zone accommodated players from early level 30s to late level 40s. Numerous quest chains, Gorobashi Arena, Nesting Worry Safari, fishing content, boat connections from Booty Bay, Zeppelins directly from Orgrimmar and Undercity to Gromgrol base camp for Horde, elite group quests, and eventually even a raid in Zul'Gurub. I find it hard to believe that anyone wouldn't end up questing in Stranglethorn Vale at some point. The amount of content here really is wild. Oh, and let's not forget PvP. Given the legacy of this zone, it's likely to be one of the biggest world PvP hotspots in the game. Out of all the zones in World of Warcraft, this one has to be the top one for me. So there we are, some zones not to miss. This isn't really supposed to be an exhaustive list. There'll be zones you love that aren't on here, and you can let me know about them below and why you love them. I'm sure if you played Classic before, you had your preferred leveling route as well, and that would no doubt influence you if you tried doing this as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you think. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.